Hello, everyone. You're listening to the Small Business Show. My name is Swire Ho. You can also call me the promo guy. My guest today is Luke Charlton, founder of LukeCharlton.com. Luke is a paid advertising specialist who have helped over 1,000 coaches get clients with pay ads. Along with that, he spent over $20 million on paid advertising, generated tens of thousands of appointments, banked $50 million plus in coaching revenue for clients, and has been hired by a top agency to write copies for the world leading experts. Welcome to the show, Luke.
Hey, Swy, how are you?
Thank, thanks for being on the show. Love to dive deeper, with the ad spending with the campaigns that you have. Before that, want to find out more about, how did you get into that space and what do you like most about what you do?
How did I get into? Yeah, so I run I actually run two businesses. One is an advertising agency for coaches, and the other one is a coaching business that I have a business partner with, and that is for helping women to basically create a secure income for their retirement just through investing, teaching them how to invest, basically. So I didn't start out there. Obviously, about 10 years ago, I was working full time. Actually, 10 years ago, what is it? We're in October now, in August. So it was 10 years in August was when I left my full-time job to become a coach. So I was working full-time, just like a lot of people, and I was very unhappy with with the 9 to 5 life. I didn't know why at the time. Looking back, it was because I would get into a new job and it would be fun for the first 6 months, and then after that, I would feel kind of depressed because I wasn't growing anymore. And I didn't know why, but I know now that it's because it was due to lack of growth. And so I'd go to a new job and that would be fun. And then I would get depressed again. So anyway, I left that job, and I was actually interested in health, and I mean, still am, but health and wellness and training. So I actually left that to become like a health and wellness coach, basically, to combine like personal training with like the mental side I was interested in. So, but what I realized is I didn't really like doing that with other people. I like doing it for myself, but I really loved the business side of the coaching business. And that's kind of like where it all kicked off. Again, that was about 10 years ago. And then from there, it was like growing my business was kind of like throwing spaghetti at the wall, just trying to figure out how to market and sell. And I wasn't very successful for the first few years. And I did a lot of mistakes. And one of the things I was really focused on the first few years was organic traffic, like doing like workshops and doing LinkedIn groups and Facebook groups. And it wasn't YouTube Live back then. It was Google Hangouts. So I did a ton of strategies, and they're pretty much all free strategies, like organic client generation strategies. And they were very slow, and I got very frustrated with them because they weren't working. Actually, I got one working on LinkedIn. I even wrote a book about it. And the day that I went to launch the book about this LinkedIn strategy, about building a group and how to kind of get clients from your own group, LinkedIn changed their policies literally as the day before I went to release the book on Amazon where people could buy it. They changed their policies and the strategy no longer worked. And I had this course that I'd created, and I had clients and things were going well. And so I had clients messaging me like, "Hey, Luke, what's going on? I can't do this. LinkedIn changed this. Is there a way around it?" And there wasn't. So they changed their whole platform to stop people doing what I was showing. And it was fine. It's just, I mean, when I say fine, it wasn't like it was like an illegal strategy or anything like that. It wasn't like scraping lists. It was a pretty good strategy. Anyway, and that's kind of like was the straw on the camel's back where I'm like, I need to learn advertising. I need to learn something that's kind of more automatic, more time efficient, more scalable, more consistent. And that's when I started researching different people who were great at advertising. And one guy kind of kept popping up consistently in my newsfeed. His name's Jason Hornung, and I bought his course and I followed it, and I actually started seeing results in my ads, which I'd never really seen before. And then he put up an ad. I was in his Facebook group, like his private coaching group, and he put up a post saying, "Hey, he's hiring for his agency to train a couple of people up to to run ads for his clients. So I put my name in the hat. I applied for that, and out of like 50 people, I got the gig, and I went from spending about $20 a day on my own campaigns to like $200,000 a month. Like literally overnight, I was just thrown in. And so I learned very quickly about how to run advertising. That was 2016. So I've been running ads consistently since then. Initially it was with Jason's clients. After a couple of years, I left his, and then I created my own agency. Spent over probably about $20 million on ads. So that's kind of the quick version of how I got into advertising.
Thanks for sharing. And since you ended on the topics for spending $20 million, buying ads for client, I want to find out from your experience what type of campaign works with ad spending, and can you share some of them that doesn't work? Like, can you give us some case study on like some of the best practices for using ads?
Absolutely, yeah. So that's a really good question. And the short answer is, I mean, people probably, Swire, have your audience heard of funnels? Do they know what funnels are? Okay. Yeah, so there's kind of a misconception with funnels because every guru has their kind of funnel, right? It's like Facebook groups, or it's a webinar, or it's like a low ticket book or whatever. And the truth is, like, they will all work for your business generally. Like if you're a coach or a service provider, even an e-commerce store, you can make a lot of the funnels work. And so it's less about the actual funnel. The funnel is just like the mechanism in a way. What's most important, what makes your campaigns convert, is the message. So another way of saying that is like, the offer that you're presenting to your audience. But even before that, it's again, people think it's all about the offer because they hear people like Alex Hormozi with his $100 million offers book, which is quite popular in the online marketing community. Because the offer is kind of like the tangible thing, right? It's like we can see it, we can create like his the physical product, or the whatever it is. If it's a program, here are my modules, and here are the bonuses and all that. That's like the cool tangible stuff. But that I mean, that's important, but a step before that, if you want to create a successful advertising campaign, it starts with your market. It always starts with your market. It doesn't start with your offer. And this is what a bit that I skipped in my story was that what I really fell in love with when I started getting into business coaching was copywriting. That's my area of expertise, really, is copywriting. And one of the things that I learned when I was studying all the greats of copywriting was that they were all about the market. It's finding out what the market wants often before they've even created a product. Like, yes, they would have people, businesses hire them to sell their products better. But a lot of the times when they were selling their own products, these copywriters, and this is like direct mail, this is like physical mail. A lot of the times what they would do is they would go before they've even created the product, they would go to the market and they would research the market. They'd find out, like, what are the biggest challenges of this market? What are their biggest frustrations? What are the competitors doing really well with their products? But what are the competitors not doing so well, right? And they would look at, okay, where's the gap? Like, where is this market not being fulfilled? Okay, let's go create a product that solves a problem that they have that's different to what the competitor's doing, and different in a better way, obviously. And then they go and create the product. So the point is, or the offer, you research the market first, because at the end of the day, that's who is buying from you. So if they don't want, you could create what you think is a great product, but if no one wants it, then you haven't really got a viable business. So it always starts with the market, and it's the same with online advertising, same with any marketing strategy, really. It always starts with the market, finding out what the market wants, and then you create the offer. But here's the problem with that is most business owners, they have an offer, or it could be a physical product, could be like a coaching program or whatever, and then they try and fit it in with the market, and that can cause that can make it a little bit harder. But so when I'm working with a coach, that's generally what happens. They have like a methodology to get a result, whether it's help relationships, will lose weight, whatever it is. And we look at their market and their offer. Like the program is kind of average. And so I go to them and I say, look, the market is really saying that, you know, they want this, like they don't want to, you know, do this type of workout or whatever it is, right? And
So you do some research for the client.
it depends. If they're buying my done for you offer in my agency, which I don't really offer anymore because of my other coaching businesses taking up most of my time now. But when I was doing done for you strategies to fill my clients' calendars, because that's what coaches want. They want appointments in their calendars. We would do the research for them, but we would also tell them, hey, we'll do some research to get your campaign converting. And so we'll have a good foundation for you, but this is your business. So you will want to do your own research as well, because at the end of the day, it's your market. You want to know your market better than they know themselves. At the end of the day, you want to know as their fears, their frustrations, their desires. And I know this might sound kind of boring to people, like, oh yeah, you know, choose your niche, research your market. But this is literally like the key to success is for marketing and sales. It's knowing your market, all of their objections, all of their desires. And once you know that, then you can create product after product that you know that they're going to buy. Actually, I was going to record a podcast. I have a podcast that I do. I just literally if I've got something that I want to share, I just pick up my phone and record it. That's literally my podcast. It's very simple. But one of the things that I was going to do, because with my other coaching business, it's going for about 3 months, and I'll get into that advertising campaign in a minute, but that's already up to over $100,000 a month. And so we're looking at, that's like for our main product. We don't actually have a back end yet. We're not even at the stage where we're writing our emails yet. We're just that new. We're just focusing on selling this core program to our market, these women. But in the back of my mind, I'm also thinking, okay, what are we going to sell these clients that are coming through? That's the back end. The back end is the programs that you sell to your existing clients and customers. And that's often much easier to sell, and it's like almost 100% profit, right? Because I've already got the client now, I've already acquired the client. You don't have to, or the customer, I don't have to re-advertise to them. I can just send them an email, which is pretty much free to get more revenue. Anyway, so I'm thinking of what can we sell them, right? Well, I don't have to just sit here with a blank bit of paper and like dream up products. What do? You just go to the market. So I know from speaking to this market, doing hundreds and hundreds of calls, that the women that come through to buy our How to Invest program, because they're from Australia, people who are from Australia also know that real estate is kind of like seen as the way to wealth, in a way, as the way to secure your financial future. Like real estate is like, it's like worse than Canada. It's like the cost of real estate is ridiculous. And everyone wants to get into real estate. And so I know from having a lot of conversations that a lot of the women that we speak to, they want their own home, or they want like another investment property, right? So that's a really big thing for them. Now, our program doesn't really teach that. It's just kind of more of a general investing program, like what are shares, how to invest in shares, and how to have a diversified portfolio, how to maximize your 401k or superannuation. Anyway, it's kind of basic, but there's nothing really there's a little bit on real estate, but not a lot. It's not like a real estate program. And so I know that's a big need that they want. So the point is, by listening to the market, I know that would be something that they would jump in. We just have to figure out, like, what's the offer now? Like, what are we going to do differently to what everyone else is doing? Okay. And that's where, again, you research and find out what your competitors are doing. So your market will tell you everything you need to know about what your prospects want, and what they're already buying, and then also how to position your program as well, or your offer, in a way that's unique and different to what everyone else is doing. So the point is, your market will tell you how to be successful. Your market will tell you what they're going to hand over their hard-earned money for. It's the key to success with, we're talking about advertising in this context. With advertising is the market, and then from everything stems from the market, like your program, your product, how you position that product. So that's the next step, is like, what are you actually selling them, and how is that unique and different to your competitors? That's the next step. Okay, that's the first fundamental is the market. The second fundamental is the is the offer. It's like your product. When I say the word offer, like you've got, let's say, your coaching program, that's the program, but then the offer is kind of like everything packaged up. It's like the result that you're promising, it's all the benefits, it's the bonuses, it's the price. Like that's the offer is like the whole package. And it's the same with like an e-commerce product. The offer is, it's not just the physical thing. It's like, what does it actually do for them, right? Oh, it helps them. Like if I've got a shaver, right, for my beard, the offer is, yes, it's the physical shaver, but it's like, what does that shaver do? Oh, it doesn't cut you when when I'm shaving quickly in the morning, and all the other cool benefits that it gives you. That's the offer is everything packaged up, all the promises and benefits. Anyway.
So if I understand properly what you're saying, even before you spend any money in your ad campaign, you should research on the market. At least, if you
Yes.
identify a certain industry or sector that you want to be in, find your dream client and then do some research and actually, like I like your fitness coaching example, right? Everyone wants to look good, right? Feel good, or maybe lose some weight.
Yep.
That's too general. So you actually encourage coaches, businesses to find a unique offer. So, but what I'm hearing from other business owners, if I am narrowed down my area, am I losing out? Am I missing some of the client who might be able to buy a product and services?
Like if you niche down, is that what you're asking?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. Well, here's the thing. Again, this is one of those things where we've all heard this before, right? It's like, research your market, choose a niche, and we've heard it before, but by narrowing down your market, you make it much easier to attract clients, because you can create a more specific message. So let me give you an example. A long time ago, I had a client in the health space who she helped with Hashimoto's syndrome. I think it's syndrome, Hashimoto syndrome, which is just like a health issue. And that was kind of her area of expertise. And I've had other clients where they just have like a general, I will help you lose weight program. Mm-hmm. Now, fitness, like finance, my other business, is like, it's one of the most competitive markets in the world. Right. So if you go into the market with just like, hey, I will help you lose weight, there's so many other competitors saying similar messages that I will help you lose weight, or I will help you, how to lose 30 pounds in 30 days, those types of generic headlines. They just get lost in the mix, and they'll attract kind of like a broad market, but it'll be like kind of low quality leads as well. So what I say is, like, if you're a coach, is what I would recommend is you want to niche down as much as possible, for a couple of reasons. Number one, it makes it easier for you to stand out. So if I say, hey, are you struggling with Hashimoto's syndrome or whatever in my ad, obviously that's going to talk to a very specific market. So it's going to cut right through all the other messages, like in their news feed on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, wherever they're watching the ad. So it's going to obviously resonate with that particular target market. Now, the other reason why I like to niche down is because a niche is people think a niche is just choosing like I help women who are 35 and they are accountants, or whatever the demographic is. People think niches are demographics. They're not. A niche is a unique problem. Okay. Now, a demographic will help you identify unique problems, right? So if I'm a 35-year-old accountant, female, that helps you kind of get a clearer picture of like who this woman is that I'm speaking to, but it doesn't talk about a unique problem there. Hashimoto's is a unique problem, and that so that's the actual niche, is the unique problem. Now, the great thing about targeting a unique problem is that you can generally charge more because you're specializing in you're a specialist now, versus like, hey, I help anyone lose weight. No, I just help people with Hashimoto's to help relieve them from that, or help them. I'm so used to not using the word cure in advertising, so I wouldn't use the word cure, but to help them with their symptoms of Hashimoto's or whatever. So that you can see that as a specialist, just like a brain surgeon, everyone's heard that example, you can charge more. It's easy to justify your fees. The sales process becomes a lot easier. It's funny, like I've seen terrible looking funnels, like in terms of graphically designed, really ugly, poor design. But because they're targeting a very kind of unique problem, the prospects they don't care about that because they're just relieved, like, oh my gosh, there's someone helping me with my problem, my unique problem.
That probably saves you money too, right? If you go broad, then you could probably pay up for it. But if you are so specific, or if you're the only two, right, that are using that word, does it help them actually save money on buying ads?
Yeah, you'll generally get a better ROI if you niche down a little bit. In today's market, because there's so many people online now, it's quite rare that you have like a true niche, like even the niche of Hashimoto's. There's still, quite a few coaches out there doing Hashimoto's, but far less than those doing just general weight loss, right? So it's what I would say is don't be afraid of niching too much. And that's the thing that I hear a lot is like, oh, you mentioned it before, Swire, like I'm going to exclude so many people that my campaigns won't work. No, I've literally never seen that. I'm doing this for like 10 years. So I would be not afraid of niching too little. I would just be afraid of not niching at all, is what I would say. Yeah.
That's great advice. I think I want to ask this question, and I want to see if you could help us to come to the answer. So let's say we do a research and we know what our propositions are, and we have, assume that we have good content to lead them to, right, after they click the ad. How do we decide how much we need to spend on ads? Or it depends on the situation that we're in. Do you have like a formula, or how do you advise clients to come up with the ad budget?
Yeah, it's a big question. Because how much do you decide to spend on ads? Well, let me ask you this, Wire. If you're spending $1 on advertising, you're making back $5 every single time, how much are you going to spend on ads?
As much as it will run until it ends.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. So that's the goal of advertising, is you want to spend as much, you want to get an ROI at the highest level of scale that you can. That's advertising in a nutshell. And sometimes we get lost in that when we hear about cost per click and clicks and click-through rate and all that. And those kind of just help you identify when things are going well or not so well, and what maybe needs fixing. But at the end of the day, that's what all advertising we're trying to do, is spend $1 and make back $3, $4, $5, $10 or more. Okay. Now, how much do you spend? Well, in the beginning, you're not going to be, you can, but I don't recommend spending a lot. And that's a great thing with online advertising these days, is you don't have to spend a lot of money. So with my clients, even the ones that are paying, investing with me a lot of money, in my done for you funnel setup and everything, like we're only spending, say, $50 a day just to test the message, no more than $100 a day. Even when they're very successful, or even when they're already earning 7 figures, we're not spending a lot to test a new ad. And when I say $50 to $100 per day, that's literally maybe like just for a day or two. Like I don't have to, I can, within $100 of ad spend, I will know whether the ad is viable or not. So I can figure out, and if it's not, I just turn it off, and then we just
that's fair. That's if you're really serious, and that's not a big amount to actually test the water.
Yeah, exactly right. So you don't need to spend a lot of money, and then you basically just test cheap, and you want to keep it that, whatever it is, $50 to $100 a day, while you test the different ads, while you're tweaking the message in the funnel. And then once things are converting, meaning, in my instance, it's like we're getting appointments at a pretty good cost, and you've got maybe 1 or 2 clients from that ad spend. Now we can start to bump it up a little bit. We don't go like from $50 to $500 a day. We might go from $50 to $100 a day, or $100 to $150 or $200 a day. So we just bump it up, and we let it sit there and maybe get a couple more clients, and then we go, we just slowly scale like that. And that's how I do it anyway. It's a bit better with e-commerce stores. You can think like with my particular industry, because we're getting appointments and sales. My biggest thing is not really like, I can usually get the ads to convert quite quickly. It's like, it's teaching my clients how to sign those prospects up into a high price program, which is usually $5,000 to $10,000. That's the hard part for me, is training my clients up to learn how to close properly. Getting the appointments part's pretty straightforward because I've been doing it for so long now. And so the reason why I say that is because we're just usually spending whatever it is, $50 to $100 per day while I'm training them up for a couple of months on closing. But if you're in e-commerce, I mean, if your website's converting, you can scale pretty quickly when an ad's it's working. So I don't really do e-commerce. I dabbled in it a little bit, but I just focus on coaches.
Yeah, I really like that. I especially like the testing approach, and it's nominal fee compared to some ad agency that I've talked to myself. If you don't have $100,000 for them to on their disposal, they don't even talk to you. So obviously there's a fee for the research and then for the attention to the program. But I really like that approach. By spending a little money, then you can see if it makes sense, or if it convert to a client, then good luck to you. Then you know that you could probably spend a little bit more money, and it's scalable, right? From what you're saying, then I know if I really want to scale it up and I have the income coming in, then it kind of justified it.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why I love advertising. It's scalable, it's time efficient. Like while we're speaking right now, I'm generating leads. My clients are generating leads, and then my own business, other coaching business, is generating, appointments as well while we're chatting. So it's scalable, it's time efficient, it's measurable, which is great. You can see all of your stats in the reporting, so I can track the clicks to we have applications in my business to like 15-minute calls to actual sales calls. So you can track everything, and that helps. It makes it a lot easier to optimize and figure out what's working and what's not. So there's so many great benefits. Obviously the downside is you've got to pay. So one of the things that I recommend with advertising is, if you're going to do it, hire someone that has experience, like a lot of experience, because I've heard, like I'm sure we all have, horror stories of people who have spent a lot of money on ads and nothing's happened, right? And that's usually because they're just trying to do it themselves, they're trying to wing it, or they've invested with a mentor that maybe isn't an expert in their industry, or maybe they are, but they just haven't got a lot of experience, in that industry. So get a real mentor as well as, and invest. Like if you want to be serious, like it's going to be for real experts, to like a real advertising expert. They're quite rare. They're gonna charge you a lot, and they, because they're just rare. So get an actual expert, because a bad expert will cost you more than if you just had pay. If you just pay one of my earlier mentors said, you pay for the best and you only cry once. If you pay for someone that's not great, you're going to cry many, many times, because they'll waste your money and you'll waste your money investing in them. So, yeah,
that's very good advice, Luke. So obviously people should follow you and listen to you. But since I have you on, what are some of the questions or some of the things that we should ask as expert, or maybe we are talking with an agency that we wanted to run ads with? Are there any matrix or any things that's on the business side we should ask to qualify the expert that we're about to hire?
That's a really good question. That's why I don't think we've been asked that before. Yeah, so a couple of things. If a lot of you'll see them advertised. If an agency has like a guarantee, like, oh, if you don't get 20 appointments a month or whatever it is, or you don't get 100 appointments in the next 10 days, we'll give you all of your money back and I'll send you $5,000. I think the latest one is I'll send you $5,000. Now, if they've got a guarantee, any type of guarantee, really look at the fine print. Look at the fine print. Read how it is worded, because they're not doing guarantees like I'll send you $5,000 because they're like they will have some fine print in there. So just be very careful about that. That's number one. Number two is I would ask, what who else have you worked with in a similar business? So that's one of the things that I use to really quickly eliminate people. If I'm going to hire like a consultant or an agency for my business, I look at who else that they've worked with that is quite well known. That's a really easy
But do you want them to work with your competitor though, or you just want to have like similar industry in your space?
Yeah, I mean, if they want to work with me, like if they're already working with a competitor, that's um yeah, that's a good question actually, because you're thinking like if they're working with a, I mean, that's going to be, I mean, for a lot of people listening to this, if you have a business that you're just kind of starting out or you're not very big, I don't think it's going to be a big deal. I think, if they're working with a competitor, that issue probably only comes into space when you're like quite an established company. If you're worried about like them sharing IP with the other competitor or something like that. But if you're not worried about that, if you are worried about that, then yeah, don't hire them. But in terms of working with another competitor, I'm not really, wouldn't be too worried about that. I think it shows that if they're working with similar coaches or similar e-commerce businesses, that's a really good sign. It shows they know how to get results with your type of business. So looking at their case studies, looking at what type of big names that they've worked with is I think is quite important, because you only work with, like we're looking at hiring a agency from other coaching business. I was speaking to them yesterday, and they've worked with like Coca-Cola, the US department, like Netflix, and a lot of other big name coaches. And you don't get to that level of having those types of clients, like just starting out. Like that takes, to get those types of clients, like Coca-Cola. Yeah. So that's why if you see any big names, big companies that they've worked with or whatever, or media that they've been featured in, if it's just like one kind of TV show or whatever, or like one kind of magazine or whatever, that's okay. But if it's like multiple big clients and multiple like media everywhere and they've won awards, that's what I look for. And funnily enough, that's what if my clients have that, I put that in my advertising campaigns for them. Like, hey, they've won this award, they've been on these stages, they've had these big name clients, because that credibility is instant. Like people can sit there and go, oh wow, if Coca-Cola has worked with these people and Netflix and the US Department of Justice, I think it was something, I don't know, some US government agency, then like these people are legit, basically.
Yeah, they've been
that's
a
what
while.
You don't really have to ask them that. That's what you want to observe before you get on the phone with them to sign up with their program, whatever they're selling. So that's one way that I use to definitely identify who is good and who is not. Like what type of third party, it's called third party credibility, have they got? Big name testimonials, media, and also like what do their case studies look like for, I mean, that's great, but like have they actually helped similar business? Like what are the case study results? I want to see, quite a lot of case studies of people similar to my business.
Yeah, I love this segment, Luke. Thanks for answering. I think that's the questions that I've been wanting to ask for a long time. Like, how do you really qualify and know that the agency is a good fit for you? And especially, to your case, you have a podcast. So if you are a prospect who are thinking about the consultant or the agency, if they have a podcast, listen to a few episodes. So sometimes I do strongly believe in there's a good fit and there's not a good fit, because maybe it's a personality, or maybe the methodology that they're using you don't connect with, then you don't use it. You have choices. And if you really buy into this person and ask to work with that person, sometimes they will turn you on to other maybe junior level staff.
That's a great point.
Ask if you could work with the people that you believe in, or when you see a person writing a lot of good articles that you like, see what's the minimum or what's the process to work with that exact person.
Yeah, that's a really great point. So one of the things that kind of big name gurus will do, and I have mentioned on my own podcast, like if you're going to do advertising, right, you've done this research and think, okay, they've got great third-party credibility, got good case studies, and you go into to work with this person, this expert on advertising or whatever area, it could be health or whatever, and then you sign up and then you get, and this has happened to everyone, I think, you get put in like, say, some group coaching program with some other person that's not actually the expert. It's like their understudy. And that happens a lot in the online marketing space. And my thoughts behind that is like, if they were an actual expert, they'd be running their own business, right? Generally, they'd be running their own business. So it's quite rare that you have an expert that you put with that is a real expert. And so that can, especially with advertising, like if you research this person and you want to work with them and you get put in a group coaching program with some other person, that can, again, you're put with someone that doesn't have the same experience, you can waste. They might be taught in the same frameworks, but you won't get the same results as if you're just working with the expert that you've been wanting to work with. So that is a great question, Swire, is like, I would ask on the phone is, am
I working with you?
Program, do I actually get to work with this person? If the answer is no, or usually you can, it just costs more. Like you just have to invest more.
Yeah.
And that's what I say. Like, if you're going to run ads, work with someone. If this is your first time running advertising campaigns, it's fine if you've already run advertising campaigns before. Like you can go into a group program. That's fine because you only need kind of like tips here and there. But if you're wanting to get into ads and you've never really had a successful campaign, work with an expert one-on-one. Like get them like either an agency or work with them one-on-one, because they're going to need to dive in. Like they're going to have to look at your market and how you've researched their market. They're going to have to look at your offer and why that offer is not connecting with your market. Like you don't like to make an advertising campaign convert is not an easy thing, right? This is why real experts are quite rare.
So you say to spend the most money that you could afford to hire an expert that knows your space.
Well, you can't afford not to. Is like let's say an expert is $25,000 to hire one-on-one for 6 months. Just to say an example, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're like, wow, that's too expensive. I only have $5,000 or $10,000. So I'm just going to go invest in this other expert that's not as expensive. Again, obviously, as I said before, you get what you pay for. So you can invest that $10,000 with the other expert, but you're running a big risk that if they're not as good and they haven't helped people in your industry, or they don't have the case studies behind them or that third-party credibility, then it's a big risk. And I think it's actually more of a risk of spending, I'd rather spend $25,000 and get the results than spend $10,000 and like hope and pray that I'm getting results. So if you can't afford the $25K, find a way to afford it, right? So either save up. I don't know. There's other ways to, get that shortfall, the 15K or whatever it is, get some more clients, get some more sales, but don't spend on a lesser expert because you can't afford the best expert. Like that's not a good way to, like, if you're going to do advertising, like do it properly, invest with a real expert, and pay them to work with them one-on-one. If you can't afford it, find a way, save up, be a bit more patient. It'll be worth it.
That's great advice, Luke. So I know that we're getting to individual questions that is catered to your different individual. So for listener who might want to reach out to you to learn more about your work, what would be the best way?
Yeah, you can just look me up, lukecharlton.com. I have a great podcast called the 15-Minute Client Podcast. So as I mentioned before, I have another coaching business that I spend most of my time with now. So I'm not really looking for more clients. So basically I just give away everything on that podcast on how to create profitable advertising campaigns. So yeah, it's just the 15minuteclientpodcast.com. But if you go to lukecharlton.com, literally just there's an opt-in, there's a free guide. I think it's the 9 email offers that get coaching clients for free is my opt-in. You'll see. So if you want to know what the 9 email offers are that get coaching clients for free, you can go to that and jump on my list. And from there, I basically let my list know about each new podcast episode. Or when podcast episodes come out, I'll let you guys know. So just go to lukecharlton.com if you want more help on turning advertising into high-paying clients.
Thank you so much, Luke. I'll definitely include that link on the show notes. And thanks for coming on to the show today.
Thanks, Waya.